is. How about greed? How about greed? What once was about we want to get paid more has turned into something else. All right, after seeing a crazy statement that the Players Association released, I went over that in the video earlier. They look like they're content on WNBA suicide at this point.
Let's call it what it is at this point. What started as players demanding fair compensation has morphed into something the league's owners are now calling greed, and the consequences. They're about to get real, because while the WNBA Players Association is digging in their heels, refusing to budge on their demands, the league just made a chess move that could fracture the entire union. We're talking qualifying offers hitting players' inboxes tomorrow. Actual money, actual contracts. And some players are about to have a very difficult choice to make.
WNBA is telling teams they can send free agent offers amid CBA uncertainty. Guys, teams are about to start sending out free agent offers to players. No, you're going to have some players that hadn't been making much money all of a sudden look up and they're like, oh, wait a minute. What now? Once they start seeing actual figures?
Here's what's happening behind the scenes. The collective bargaining agreement expired at midnight on January 10th. No deal, no extension. And instead of locking out the players like everyone expected, Adam Silver and the WNBA owners activated what's called a status quo obligation under U.S. labor law. That means they can start sending qualifying offers to free agents using the framework of the expired CBA. And according to multiple league sources who spoke to Front Office Sports, the league spent the last 2 days calling every general manager and franchise executive with the same message. You can start making offers on January 11th. That's tomorrow.
With no moratorium yet in place, WNBA officials spent the past 2 days calling general managers and executives from every franchise to tell them the status quo period means they can send out qualifying offers to free agents beginning January 11th tomorrow.
Think about what this means for a second. You've got players who've been standing in solidarity with the union, turning down what the league considers generous offers. Maximum salaries that would climb to over $2 million by the end of the new CBA. Revenue sharing percentages in the high 30s, but now those same players are going to open their phones and see actual contract offers, real numbers, from teams that can transform their careers and their bank accounts, and the Players Association knows exactly what's about to happen.
And running out the clock. I'm not going through their ridiculous statement that, in my opinion, could actually result in this league going down the toilet. But it's clear, hey, what happens when a player that was making $100K look up and they got a qualifying offer? Because right now they haven't agreed to new salary.
The union tried to downplay this in a statement released late Friday night, calling the free agency process pointless without a new CBA in place. They accused the league of undervaluing player contributions and running out the clock. But here's the problem with that narrative. The clock isn't running out on the owners. The clock is running out on the players. Because while this CBA standoff drags on, a second crisis is quietly building, and this one involves arenas.
The NBA, for ESPN's senior writer, while it doesn't seem like there are any immediate consequences to another formal or informal extension of the WNBA CBA talks because training camps don't open until April, I'm starting to hear increasing concern about how this delay could affect scheduling next season. In other words, if there's no CBA, there's no schedule. And arenas can start to give away dates to other events.
Ramona Shelburne, ESPN's senior NBA writer, dropped this bombshell on social media earlier this week. She's starting to hear increasing concern about how the CBA delay could affect scheduling next season. Here's the issue. If there's no collective bargaining agreement, there's no schedule. And if there's no schedule, arenas can't block off dates for WNBA games. Those venues have other events competing for the same calendar slots. Concerts, college basketball, NHL playoffs, corporate events. The longer this drags out, the more dates get claimed by other bookings. And once those dates are gone, they're gone.
Got millions of new fans, should embrace them. Nope. Spend every second attacking the new fans in CC. The reason they are here, intentionally destroying the growth of the league. And I wonder why. Greedy, selfish vets. Yeah, and I've got to wonder, you notice a lot of this is being led, you got older players. It's like that are trying to, it's like, okay, I'm pulling up to the end. I need to try to.
Training camps don't open until April, so on the surface, this might not seem urgent, but scheduling a professional sports league requires months of advanced planning, venue coordination, television broadcast windows, travel logistics, ticket sales, corporate sponsorships. All of that grinds to a halt without a finalized CBA. And the Players Association seems to be operating under the assumption that they can push this negotiation into February or March without consequences. That assumption might be catastrophically wrong.
Make it off that, I don't know what to tell you. Honestly. Wow. They are now looking at losing dates, potentially to games. There's a little flat line. Like, we took it too far.
Now layer in the expansion draft, the Golden State Valkyries are joining the league this season. That expansion draft needs to happen fairly soon to give the new franchise time to build a roster, establish an identity, and sell tickets. But you can't hold an expansion draft without knowing the salary cap structure. You can't protect players without knowing the roster rules. Everything is frozen. And the longer it stays frozen, the more the league's credibility takes a hit with fans, sponsors, and broadcast partners who've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into this growth trajectory.
Sources told Front Office Sports. Wow. Now, of course, the Players Association are trying to downplay this. The same sources told Front Office Sports they view going through the motions of free agency without CBA in place.
So let's talk about what happens when those qualifying offers start landing. Picture this scenario: you're a veteran player currently making $100,000 per season. Solid contributor, but not a star. You've been supporting the union's position because collective action is supposed to lift everyone up. Then your phone buzzes, it's your agent. The Indiana Fever just sent a qualifying offer. They want you on the most popular team in the league. The team that turned Sophie Cunningham into a household name. The team that plays in front of sold-out crowds every single night. The team that generated more social media engagement last season than the rest of the WNBA combined. And here's the thing, even under the current expired CBA structure, that offer is going to represent life-changing money compared to what you're making now. Maybe it's a max contract. Maybe it's $250,000. Maybe it's more, but whatever the number is, it's real. It's not theoretical. It's not part of some future negotiation. It's money you can sign for right now.
I would assume, until I hear more, whether or not they can put what they know they've offered, which they might look at as a bare minimum, maybe the league looks at it that way. We're willing to pay this, so we're going to put this on qualifying offers. I would assume they can't do that, but it would be hilarious. You got some player that was making, $250,000. They look up and they've been sent a qualifying offer.
What does that player do? Does she turn it down out of solidarity with players who are already making seven figures? Does she risk her financial security and career trajectory because the union wants to hold out for better terms? Or does she sign that contract, secure her future, and let the union figure out their own problems? That's the fracture point Adam Silver is targeting, and its brilliant, ruthless strategy. Because the Players Association's power comes from unity. The moment players start breaking ranks and signing deals, the leverage evaporates, and the owners know that not every player in that union is in the same financial position. The veterans at the top of the pay scale can afford to wait this out. They've got overseas contracts, endorsement deals, and years of earnings in the bank. But the players in the middle, the ones making $75,000 or $100,000, they can't afford to gamble with their careers.
That's funny. The owners are... We'll just tempt the play. I mean, think about that. You're some player sitting around and you look up. This means that some player that's wanting to greatly grow their brand is sitting around. They look up, they get a qualifying offer from the most popular team in the league, the Indiana Fever. You think they're not going to look at that and go...
There's another dynamic at play here that nobody's talking about publicly, but it's obvious if you read between the lines. This CBA fight is being driven primarily by older players. Veterans who are approaching the end of their careers and trying to maximize earnings in their final years. That's not a criticism, it's just reality. If you're 32 years old with maybe 2 or 3 seasons left, you want every dollar you can get right now. Future revenue sharing percentages don't help you if you're retired when they kick in. But if you're 24 years old at the beginning of your career, your calculation is completely different. A CBA that phases in higher salaries over 5 or 6 years works in your favor. You'll be in your prime when those top-tier contracts become available. You can afford to take a smaller deal now if it means long-term stability and league growth. So when the union presents a united front, that unity is masking some very different priorities underneath. And the league knows this. They're betting that when actual contract offers start flowing, the younger players and the mid-tier veterans will start asking themselves a very simple question: why am I sacrificing my financial security so that players making $200,000 can hold out for $250,000? Why am I risking arena dates and league stability so the top 5% can squeeze out another $100,000? That's not to say the players don't have legitimate grievances. Revenue sharing percentages in professional sports are always contentious. The WNBA's revenue model is complicated by the fact that the league has historically operated at a loss, subsidized by the NBA. But in 2024, something changed. The Caitlyn Clark effect generated unprecedented ratings, attendance, and sponsorship revenue. The league became profitable for the first time. And players looked at that and said, "We want our cut." Fair enough. The league apparently agreed, which is why they offered to increase player compensation significantly. Maximum salaries climbing above $2 million, revenue sharing in the high 30s, but the Players Association wanted more. They wanted guarantees around charter flights, which are expensive. They wanted changes to free agency rules. They wanted adjustments to the salary cap structure. And at some point, the league decided the demands had crossed from negotiation into overreach. So here we are, qualifying offers go out tomorrow. Free agency technically opens, and every player in the league has to decide whether they're willing to bet their career on the union's ability to extract more concessions from owners who are already walking away from the negotiating table. Meanwhile, the unrivaled league is lurking in the background like a safety net that might not actually exist. Some players seem to think that if the WNBA implodes, they can just jump to Unrivaled and make comparable money. But the ratings for Unrivaled's debut were catastrophic. We're talking about a league that generated a fraction of the viewership that even mid-tier WNBA games pull. And without ratings, there's no broadcast revenue. Without broadcast revenue, there's no sustainable business model. Unrivaled might last one more season on the strength of investor capital and optimism, but it's not a long-term alternative to the WNBA. Which means the players who are banking on Unrivaled as a backup plan are playing a very dangerous game. If the WNBA season gets delayed or canceled because of the CBA dispute and Unrivaled folds after next season, where do these players go? Overseas leagues pay well, but they're not going to absorb hundreds of American players all at once. The market can't support that kind of influx. So the stakes here are higher than most people realize. This isn't just about whether players get paid $200,000 or $250,000. It's about whether the WNBA can capitalize on the momentum from 2024 or whether the league squanders the Caitlyn Clark era fighting over contract details while arenas book other events and fans lose interest. And that brings us back to those qualifying offers, because the league isn't just trying to sign players, they're trying to send a message We're moving forward with or without the union's approval. We're not going to sit around waiting for you to come to your senses. We're going to start building rosters, scheduling games, and preparing for the season. And if individual players want to be part of that, great. If they want to hold out in solidarity with the union, that's their choice. But the train is leaving the station. That's a power move, and it puts the Players Association in an incredibly difficult position. Because if players start signing those qualifying offers, the union loses its leverage. But if the union tries to pressure players not to sign, they risk looking like they're prioritizing collective action over individual financial security. Either way, the fracture lines are starting to show. You can already see it in the comment sections and on social media. Fans are split. Some are backing the players, saying they deserve every dollar they can get after years of being underpaid. Others are accusing the players of killing the golden goose, pointing out that the league just had its best season ever, and now the players are threatening to blow it up over what amounts to marginal differences in compensation. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. The WNBA's leverage in this negotiation comes almost entirely from one player, Caitlyn Clark. She's the reason ratings exploded. She's the reason arenas sold out. She's the reason corporate sponsors are suddenly writing 8-figure checks, and she's not the one making demands. She signed her rookie contract, showed up, put up historic numbers, and became the face of the league without any drama. Meanwhile, veterans who didn't generate a fraction of that interest are the ones threatening to tank the season if they don't get their way. That's not going to sit well with casual fans who tuned in last year specifically to watch Caitlyn Clark. If those fans show up in April expecting to see her play, and instead they get a delayed season or a labor dispute, they're not going to blame the owners. They're going to blame the players who held the league hostage. So what happens next? Best case scenario, a few players sign qualifying offers, the union realizes their leverage is evaporating, and they come back to the table willing to accept something close to the league's last offer. The season starts on time, arenas are locked in, and everyone moves forward. Worst case scenario, the union doubles down, players refuse to sign, the season gets delayed, arena dates get claimed by other events, and by the time they finally reach an agreement, the momentum from 2024 is gone. The smart money is on something in between. A few players will sign, the union will publicly condemn them while privately panicking. The league will use those signings as proof that their offer is reasonable, and eventually both sides will find a compromise that lets everyone save face. But the damage will already be done. Trust between players and ownership will be fractured. Fans will be frustrated, and the league will have wasted months of what should have been a victory lap after the best season in WNBA history. And that's the tragedy here. The WNBA finally broke through, finally got mainstream attention, finally proved that women's basketball can generate real revenue and real interest. And instead of capitalizing on that momentum, everyone involved is fighting over how to divide a pie that's only going to grow if they stop fighting and start playing. So keep an eye on what happens over the next few days. Those qualifying offers are going out tomorrow. Players are going to have to make decisions. And those decisions are going to determine whether the WNBA builds on 2024's success or becomes a cautionary tale about what happens when greed and ego get in the way of opportunity. Because right now, the league is playing chess while the union is playing checkers, and if the players don't figure that out soon, they're going to lose a lot more than this negotiation. They're going to lose the best chance they've ever had to turn the WNBA into a sustainable, profitable league that can support generations of players to come. Let me know in the comments, are the players right to hold out for more, or are they killing the golden goose? Because this is about to get very interesting very quickly.